The 7th of March 1945, 2,300 hours, over the dark waters of Tokyo Bay. The night feels heavy. Engines hum in tight formation. Inside the lead B-29 Superfortress, the crew can feel the vibration through their boots. The aircraft flies low, only 5,000 feet above the ground. The cabin smells like oil, metal, and fear. The bombardier keeps his eyes fixed on the glowing shoreline ahead. The city looks peaceful from a distance, but the crew knows what waits below. Searchlights sweep the sky, slow at first, then snapping upward as spotters hear the distant roar. Japanese anti-aircraft guns open fire. Tracers float upward like burning orange beads. The first bursts shake the air. The B-29 holds steady. Its bomb bay doors open with a long metallic groan. Wind rushes inside. The pilot grips the yoke. He hears the crew breathing fast behind him. Below, the wooden neighborhoods of Tokyo stretch out like a maze. The bombardier releases the first cluster of M69 incendiaries. They fall silently at first, picking up speed, then vanish into the city grid. Seconds later, faint flashes appear. Then more. The sky brightens as fire takes hold. The crew sees a rising glow that marks the beginning of a night the world will never forget. This is only one moment in a story far larger than any single crew could imagine. If you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. The firebombing of Tokyo did not appear from nowhere. It grew out of frustration, trial, and the harsh realities of the Pacific War. By 1944, Japan still controlled a large defensive perimeter. American forces needed a way to hit its industrial heart without invading the home islands too early. The Boeing B-29 Superfortress became the tool for that mission. It was one of the most advanced aircraft of the war. It carried 4 Wright R-3350 engines. It could fly above 30,000 feet and reach speeds near 350 miles per hour. It had a pressurized cabin and remote-controlled gun turrets, but technical achievements alone did not solve the strategic problem. Early high-altitude bombing of Japan failed. Jet streamlines pushed bombs off target. Clouds covered factories. Results were poor. Factories kept running. American commanders argued about how to change tactics. Major General Curtis LeMay believed that the B-29 needed a different role. Instead of precision bombing from high altitude, he proposed low-altitude night raids with incendiary bombs. Japanese cities contained large wooden residential districts. These areas supported small workshops that produced vital war goods. Hitting these districts would hurt Japan's war machine. The M69 incendiary bomb was central to this plan. It weighed only about 6 pounds. It contained jellied gasoline that ignited on impact. When dropped in clusters, thousands of M69s could set entire neighborhoods on fire. This created firestorms that starved the air of oxygen and tore through buildings. LeMay's plan depended on clear communication, strict timing, and a willingness to take risks. Dropping to low altitude exposed the bombers to anti-aircraft guns. Yet he believed the Japanese defenses were weak enough at night to make this strategy work. The firebombing campaign began with Tokyo, the largest city in Asia. It was a test, and the stakes were enormous. The path to Tokyo's firebombing campaign was not smooth. Before adopting low-altitude tactics, the B-29 had suffered from many problems. Engines overheated, turbo superchargers failed. Crews struggled with new equipment. Training accidents were common. One early engineering report stated, "Engine reliability remains unacceptable for long-range operations." Ground crews logged hundreds of hours trying to keep the aircraft ready. Combat results were also disappointing. In the first months of bombing Japan, only a small percentage of bombs fell near intended targets. Jet streamlines reached speeds above 150 miles per hour. Bombs drifted far from aim points. Pilots complained that the bombs fall like feathers in the shifting air. Japanese observers mocked the raids. One report claimed, American planes waste fuel and leave little damage. The B-29 was expensive to build and costly to operate. Commanders feared that Washington would lose faith. Morale inside some units dropped. Losses mounted from accidents more than from enemy fire. Crews sometimes returned with only one engine working. Landing these heavy aircraft in such conditions tested every skill they had. Another misconception was that Japanese air defenses were too strong for low-altitude night raids. Some commanders believed the B-29 would suffer heavy casualties. The memory of earlier missions, where bombers faced concentrated gunfire around key industrial sites, influenced their thinking. But those missions had taken place during the day. Night conditions changed the balance. On LeMay's first low-altitude tests, resistance proved weaker than expected. Still, crews worried. One tail gunner wrote, "We did not know if this plan was genius or madness." When the B-29 units finally switched to low-altitude incendiary raids, they discovered strengths that earlier missions had hidden. Flying at about 5,000 to 7,000 feet reduced the effect of the strong winds. Bomb patterns tightened, accuracy improved. The removal of most defensive guns also increased range. Some B-29s carried more than 7 tons of incendiaries in a single aircraft. At night, Japanese fighters struggled to find and attack the bombers. Their radar network lacked the speed and precision needed to track fast-moving low-altitude targets. Anti-aircraft guns fired blindly at times. Crews described seeing bursts far behind or far ahead. The B-29, even stripped of many guns, remained fast and sturdy. The incendiary clusters worked as designed. Once the M69 bomblets ignited, fires spread quickly among the wooden homes and shops. Firefighters could not control so many simultaneous blazes. Roads filled with debris. Water lines broke. Themes of precision gave way to raw destructive power. By learning the ideal release altitude, bomb interval, and approach routes, crews improved their results. They flew parallel tracks across the city so that their incendiaries overlapped and reinforced each other. The tactic created continuous burn zones. One navigator later said, "Once the fires took hold, the city lit up like a map." The method was brutal but effective. The firebombing of Tokyo involved many missions, but 3 stand out for their scale, intensity, and human pressure. These missions shaped how Japanese pilots, ground crews, and civilians understood the power of the B-29 and the incendiary campaign. Mission 1, Operation Meeting House, the 9th to the 10th of March 1945. This was the most destructive air raid of the war. Over 280 B-29s took off from bases in the Mariana Islands. Their goal was simple: hit the densely packed eastern districts of Tokyo. These neighborhoods contained small factories and workshop homes. The formation spread wide to avoid collisions. Crews flew low. Engines thumped in steady rhythm. As they approached Tokyo, the city lights were dim, but the streets were visible from altitude. LeMay's plan used Pathfinder aircraft to drop markers. When the first B-29s released incendiaries, they saw the fires spread in sharp lines. The wind carried flames across the blocks. Soon the city became a moving sheet of fire. Japanese pilots scrambled to intercept. They flew Nakajima Ki-43s and Ki-44s, but visibility was poor. Smoke rose thousands of feet. The heat from the firestorm created turbulence that shook the fighters. One pilot radioed, "I cannot see the bombers, only red sky." Anti-aircraft gunners aimed by sound but struggled. Inside the B-29s, crews felt the heat waves through the fuselage. The smell of burning wood rose into the cabin. They held course, released their loads, and turned for home. Many described silence after the run. Nothing but engine noise and the distant glow behind them. Tokyo burned 4 hours. Over 16 square miles were destroyed. Mission 2. The 13th of April 1945, 212 B-29s targeted the northern wards of Tokyo. Weather played a role. Winds shifted, making the approach rough. Crews fought turbulence that pushed their aircraft off track. Bombardiers adjusted release points. Japanese defenses responded more aggressively this time. Several fighter units attempted coordinated interceptions. They came in from above and behind, firing short bursts. A B-29 named Joltin Josie took damage to its right wing. The pilot shouted, "Hold her steady." The engineer monitored fuel leaks. Despite the hit, they stayed on course and completed the drop. Meanwhile, fires spread faster than expected. The urban layout funneled flames into narrow streets. Ground teams tried to cut fire breaks, but the scale was overwhelming. A Japanese observer later wrote, "The sky was alive with sparks and falling embers." Mission 3, the 25th of May 1945. This raid targeted central Tokyo. About 500 aircraft participated. The size of this mission strained airfields. Takeoffs occurred one after another in rapid sequence. The weather was clear, giving crews a wide view of the coastline. As they neared the city, they saw dark smoke columns rising from previous raids. The landscape looked wounded, yet it remained a critical logistics hub. Japanese defenses, although weakened, fought hard. Fighters approached in small groups. One Ki-61 pilot climbed beneath a bomber and fired into its belly. The B-29 shook, alarm sounded. The crew worked together, sealing damaged compartments and balancing fuel. They dropped their payload and limped back toward base. Elsewhere in the formation, Pathfinders marked the center of Tokyo. Firebombs followed in waves. Streets once used for commerce became rivers of flame. Witnesses described people moving in all directions. Some carried buckets. Some searched for a family. Pilots said little. A few whispered prayers, despite orders to stay focused. The raid caused heavy damage to government buildings and communications centers. By sunrise, smoke hung over the city like a ceiling. Japanese pilots returning to their bases felt defeated. One wrote in his log, "How do we fight a fire in the sky?" The firebombing campaign forced Japan to divert manpower into civil defense. Thousands of workers built fire breaks, others trained as bucket brigades. But the scale of destruction outpaced their efforts. American factories built more than 1,000 B-29s, crews flew hundreds of sorties. Fuel consumption reached millions of gallons. Ammunition production for incendiaries rose quickly. With millions of M69 bomblets delivered, Japan could not match this output. Aircraft shortages limited defense options. Radar systems lacked range. Fighter units suffered from fuel scarcity. Some pilots received only a few hours of training before combat. The firebombing weakened Japan's industrial network far faster than traditional precision bombing had done. By summer 1945, production of aircraft engines, weapons, and electronics fell sharply. Japanese pilots and civilians felt the weight of the incendiary campaign. Many described a sense of helplessness. The nicknames and spread among civilians, short for Bisan Bakuden, meaning Mr. B-Bomb. It reflected a grim respect. Diaries mention the noise of falling bomblets. People said it sounded like small sticks snapping above the roof. Others wrote about the glow that reached bedroom walls before flames arrived. Pilots felt frustration. One wrote, "We climb into darkness, but the bombers move like ghosts." The morale of air defense units dropped as losses rose. Some crews felt they could not protect their families who lived in the same burning districts. As the campaign continued, tactics evolved. B-29s used mixed loads of incendiaries and high-explosive bombs to break water lines and disrupt firefighting. Some aircraft carried radar navigation aids to strike targets through smoke. Crews improved formation spacing to reduce mid-air risks during night operations. Japan attempted countermeasures. Fireproof roofing, metal sheets, and larger fire breaks appeared. But shortages limited these efforts. Late-war Japanese fighters carried heavier guns and sometimes explosive air-to-air rockets. Their success remained limited against night formations. By mid-1945, the firebombing expanded to other cities. Nagoya, Osaka, and Kobe suffered similar attacks. The B-29 reached its full potential as a long-range incendiary platform. The Tokyo firebombings caused massive destruction. The raids destroyed more than 40% of the city. Tens of thousands of buildings burned. Japanese industry lost vital workshops and supply chains. American losses were far smaller, but still painful for bomber crews, who knew each mission carried risks. The campaign marked a turning point in strategic bombing doctrine. It proved that area bombing, when combined with incendiaries, could cripple a nation built on wooden cities. Some doubted the plan at first. By the end, even critics accepted its effectiveness. A Japanese fighter veteran later said, "We feared the flames more than the noise of engines. The fire followed you." It did not miss. The legacy of the Tokyo firebombing, a reminder of how modern war reshaped whole cities and left a lasting mark on history.